Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to our live web event, Headless Commerce for Store and Why You Need It. My name is Laurie Palanza. I'm the Global Director of Marketing for OneView Commerce and your host for today's event. We're excited for you to join us today as we discuss how essential retailers like Kroger and Australia Post use OneView's headless transaction engine to thrive in the face of disruption. On today's agenda, we'll cover what is Headless for Store. We'll present two case studies, Kroger and Australia Post. We'll have a demonstration of the OneView digital store platform, and then questions and wrap up. Abhijit will be joining us, our Chief Technology Officer, Steve Young from our Strategic Alliances, Maria, Pre-Sales and Channel, and Todd is our go-to contact here at OneView for any additional information you might need. The webinar is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording and a copy of the slides. We invite you to submit questions throughout the webinar in the Q&A box. We will answer your questions following the presentation. Abhijit, please begin.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for everyone for joining our webinar. So I'm going to briefly cover about what is headless commerce and why a headless commerce is important right now, and what should ideal modern headless cloud platform should look like. So the headless commerce, the headless term is pretty common in e-commerce, but this is pretty new for in-store. And the headless is an architecture pattern where the UI and UX is entirely decoupled from the APIs and backend engine. And what that allows us is basically like to get a more control on personalization, more control on the journey, the UX and UI journey. Also, the modern headless commerce the platform should have like a modern cloud tools where using those you will be able to innovate rapidly. And in essential, like it gives the agility. It gives you to try various things in an agile manner. Next slide. So, so these are some stats our marketing team has got it. Like these are very recent stats, and as you can see here, is Walmart has announced that like they are estimating 7.4 billion revenue in just the curbside the use case. The Kroger's most of their revenue, 50% of their revenue is coming from their competition. The Target same-day services increased almost 2 to 3 times in the last quarter. The Walmart's the average basket size is increased twice, and Target is saying that like their drive-up service is increased almost 700%. And what you can see from these KPIs is like retailers like Walmart, Kroger, Target, like they are able to achieve this digital adoption like from the customers in this pandemic area only because like they had a control on their technology. They are using the headless capabilities, and they are innovating iteratively, and that's the reason they can achieve this kind of growth. So why headless now? Like so in this pandemic area, like the headless gives you the control. You can dictate like what user experience you want to give it to your customer. The headless gives you the tool set to build that experience faster, and you will be able to execute your commerce anywhere strategy, where irrespective of where customer is, like they want to transact with you on e-commerce, be it a in-store, be it a curbside, be it a kiosk, you'll be able to execute your commerce anywhere strategy using the headless platform, which has a robust transaction engine. And hence in this pandemic area, like headless is very important so that you get a control of your experience. So how should a modern headless cloud platform should look like? So here at OneView, like we have a single transaction engine to deliver those experiences. And a modern headless transaction, the engine should have a promote anywhere, where you will be able to give a personalization to your customer, like give a personalized offers, promotions to the customer, so that the moment they engage with your brand, like they feel that you are giving them a unique treatment. You should have in a headless platform accurate real-time store inventory, because unless and until you have a real-time inventory, you won't be able to execute on store as a warehouse concept, where you will treat your stores as a warehouse and then start delivering the orders from the store. Also, the pickup anywhere, where you are dictating the experience at a curbside, how that curbside experience will happen. Also, your platform should be able to accept the payment which customer is comfortable with. Like customer might want to pay online, or they want to do a contactless, or if you are from the grocery side, I should be able to give EBT or WIC. Customer is going to dictate that how they want to pay, and then that modern platform should give that capability. Slide. So the headless platform, like here at OneView, what we have done with some of the customers is using this headless platform, we have delivered one experience is mobile line busting. Another experience is pickup at curb. That is powered by a single transaction engine. Like even though the experiences are different, underneath it's the same transaction engine, and we have hundreds of microservices and APIs to power that experience. And that same code base is deployed and you are delivering those use cases. So even though you have done a pickup at curb, tomorrow you want to provide a self-service and kiosk experience to the customer, you can still get the same code and deliver that experience. And later you might want to do a scan bag and go experience, in-store experience. You don't have to change the code. Whatever foundation you have built with the headless platform, you should be able to deliver that iteratively. So that's how the modern cloud platform, headless cloud platform, should look like. So with that, like I'll hand over to my colleague Steve, like which he will go into the use cases of our customers.
Thanks, Abhijit. Before I get into our two customer case studies, I just want to provide a little more background on my professional career, why I think the topic of headless commerce for the store is really so important. I've been with OneView Commerce for a little more than a year now. Prior to joining OneView, I spent the last 35 years in retail technologies, with most of my career being spent on the retail side at Ahold, and most recently as the Assistant Vice President of Club Systems at BJ's Wholesale Club. At BJ's, I had responsibility for all the in-store technologies. That included club and fuel point of sale, self-checkout systems, kiosks, and mobility. I also had responsibility for application development and support for the applications running in the store, like time and attendance, labor scheduling, DSD, sign printing, and task management. What I would say is the pace of change I saw in my last 2 years at BJ's accelerated exponentially compared to anything I'd seen over my career. And it was all being driven by digital transformation initiatives that BJ's had committed to. We knew we had an aging membership base and needed to reinvent ourselves to appeal to a younger demographic. The digital team that they put in place there were given some pretty short timelines to identify new ways of driving customer engagement. This included revamping our e-commerce site, developing a mobile app, deli ordering, digital coupons, and buy online and pick up in club. Every time that digital team would come to me with an initiative that required us to touch the point of sale, I'd have to tell them it's going to take 6 to 12 months and could have a price tag anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. So I quickly became their bottleneck. What I would say is this is the same challenge that a lot of retailers are facing today. There's a lot of legacy point of sale systems out there which are 20+ years old. The legacy systems have been the cornerstone of that in-store customer engagement. It served them well over the years, but really can't support the speed of innovation that both customers and retailers are now demanding. A headless commerce platform does provide that retailer with control and allows them to define how they want to engage with their customers and their associates. It also provides them with the speed and innovation because it reduces that vendor dependency, as Abhijit said. So let's talk a little bit about Kroger and Australia Post case studies and how our headless platform provided them with the solution to address the challenges they were both facing. So Kroger came to us a few years ago to learn more about our headless platform. As everyone knows, they're one of the largest retailers in the world and have a great reputation for being a leader when it comes to innovation. So what were their challenges? They had a legacy point of sale system, which was controlled by the vendor and very slow to change. This was also their bottleneck to innovation. The point of sale architecture was built on an antiquated software stack and required them to run it on proprietary hardware. This CIO said to us, the point of sale is the center of the Kroger universe, and it really shouldn't be. It should just be another customer touch point. So what were they looking for? They liked the platform because it supported their architectural, their vision was really, they were looking for a modern cloud platform that aligned with their architectural principles. They knew they wanted control and have their solutions run on any device and be able to deploy it anywhere in the store. They also wanted to leverage their existing infrastructure and back-end enterprise systems because they had invested so heavily in them over the years. Most importantly, they were really looking for increased speed of innovation to support their ever-changing business plans. Next slide, thanks. So let's talk a little bit about the Kroger journey and what drew them to OneView. They really liked the platform because it supported their architectural principles. It also gave them the agility and control they were looking for and allowed them to reduce their regret spend by being able to quickly build, test, and learn. And it didn't require them to rip and replace their existing point of sale systems. We could run side by side. For validation, they picked the high value use case for their proof of concept, which was pick up anywhere. They deployed their own agile teams and quickly started building their own customer experiences on the OneView Commerce platform. This proof of concept also is going to provide them with the next generation platform, which will be the foundation to support a digital first strategy. Next slide, please. So Kroger announced a partnership with Walgreens where their customers could order online and pick up their groceries at a Walgreens location. What this allowed them to do was expand their geographical locations where they didn't have a physical store presence and really partner with a company that had a very strong brand image. So Kroger stood up 2 Scrum teams to build out their curbside pickup experience on the OneView headless platform. They actually went live in their first Walgreens pickup location just 20 weeks later. So anyone that's tried to deploy retail technology, that's really a pretty amazing accomplishment. In the middle of expanding out to an additional 40 plus Walgreens locations, COVID-19 hit, right? So because of the OneView Commerce headless platform and them having control, they were able to quickly pivot and respond to their own needs to support some expanded pickup capabilities across their 1,700 store estate in just a matter of weeks. So they recently published some results from the last quarter and posted a 127% increase in digital sales. So you can really see the impact that this had on their bottom line. So let's talk about the AusPost case study. Australia Post is one of the largest retailers in Australia. So very much different from the post offices we're accustomed to seeing in the US. By law, they're required to remain profitable. They're not allowed to close any underperforming locations because they really do serve a value to the community. They're the largest seller of white goods like refrigerators, washers, dryers. In addition to the traditional postal services, they provide things like license renewal, passport renewals, bill payments. So, what were their challenges? Like many retailers, they had a legacy point of sale system, 28 years old. They had declining skilled resources to help work on those initiatives. They were looking for ways to expand their business footprint to help drive that incremental revenue so they could stay profitable. They were also looking for ways to simplify their operations and create efficiencies while enabling new services which will allow them to better serve their communities. Next slide, thanks. Australia Post's proof of concept centered around running a line busting application on a mobile device. So like Kroger, they stood up a couple of Scrum teams, and in just 6 months were able to deliver a successful proof of concept, which covered 90% of all their in-store transaction types. The work they did for this proof of concept also created a great foundation to support our build it once, deploy it anywhere guiding principle. And with just a little bit more work is going to allow them to run that same code base on their traditional point of sale lanes. When it came to COVID-19, they, like Kroger, were well positioned because they had control. They were immediately able to align priorities to support their changing business strategies. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Maria, and she's going to walk us through a demo of the Headless platform.
Thank you, Steve. Hi, this is Maria. I'll take you through our demo. First, before I start the actual use case, I wanted to show you very quickly an example of our headless commerce capabilities and how flexible our UI is. So what I'm showing right now is just our out-of-the-box UI. Most of our customers actually choose to extend their own UI with in-house teams or third-party teams and build it from the ground up and completely control and own it. So whether it's changing a color, moving a button, or completely adding new use cases, like Steve mentioned, a passport renewal or a bill pay, the retailers can really own and control those processes. Now, we do have a couple of customers who choose to accept our out-of-the-box UI and make just a couple of quick changes to that. And we're very flexible in both regards there. So what I have here on my right is a full-fledged register UI. So here I have things like cash management. I can go out to the website. I can initiate a return. Pretty much anything that you would expect from a point of sale to be able to do. And here on my left, I have a mobile device. This is actually emulating an Android, like a Zebra TC56 or something like that. So this is actually running on Android 8. And this is meant to enable the sales associates to run very quick transactions, go out to the curb, take inventory, and that sort of thing. And again, our customers can control and own those processes as to what device wants to do what. And on the right here, I am running on my Mac laptop. So we are hardware, software, and platform agnostic, so we can really run on anything. And as you can see, a lot of the features that are the same, they look pretty much the same. It's just a different way of utilizing the space that we have. And we're always kind of improving and iterating on that. So let's jump into our first use case. So here we're really focused on our curbside pickup or pickup anywhere use case. You might recognize this wheel from Abhijit's slide a couple minutes ago. So we're just going to focus on our pickup anywhere story and a bit of the pay anywhere story. But this is really just a couple of features that we have in our vast offering of services. So first of all, the customer would be creating their order online. This could happen from their, their laptop, from the application. The orders can be created from any system, and OneView's API-first interface makes the mapping of the order information to our pickup system very fast and efficient. Another key benefit here is that from the moment of the order creation, the store is aware of the in-progress order and the customer who will be picking it up. So the customer and the retailer will know exactly where their order is at each step of the way, which really empowers your sales associates to be able to service the customers better if they call and say, hey, where's my order? and also kind of prevents that call because the customers would be able to get email updates and tracking updates as to where all of those items are. So once that order comes through to the store, they would show up in the alert center as I have here on my left. The retailer would pick and pack that order. And that receiving and staging process means that you can create a greater synergy between your team's picking and the curbside team serving the customers. So once I've picked that order, I've put items into containers. So this is a grocery order. I can keep the frozen items separate from the ambient items. Then I have an apparel order, so I might just have too many items. So I have 2 bags that they're being kept in. Whatever it may be, those items will be clearly marked and put in a special location for that curbside team to be able to service the customer once they arrive. So at that moment that the order is ready, the customer would receive an update and they would be notified to come into the store. So another area where retailers can control is those appointment slots. This wasn't as big of a deal before, but when COVID-19 hit, for sure, people wanted to control how many people were driving up to the store, even if they were just in the parking lot. They want to be able to manage the flow of customers and give them those time slots. So those could be in any time slot that you pick. That could be a 5-minute window, that could be a 30-minute window, whatever you choose. And then another use case is, say, if it's a personal shopping appointment, maybe the customer will actually have 3 hours with one of your sales associates and take time to build a new wardrobe or something like that. So we're very flexible and let you own the use cases because you own your business. You know exactly what you need there. So let's dive into an order together. At this point, the customer has driven up to the store. They've been identified. Maybe they would just be assigned to a parking spot number 3, and then the sales associate would come out there. So let's start with a simple order here. Jenny just ordered a couple of dresses and some sweaters. I can see all of the items in her order, that everything was in stock. If there are any issues, I have her contact information so I can reach out to her. And now when I'm looking for those items, I can actually look and see that there are 3 bags that I should be looking for, and I have labels for them so I know exactly when I found the right one. So let's go ahead and start that checkout flow. So at this point, the sales associate is going to be right at Jenny's car. Make sure to go over any issues, if there was something out of stock, if she didn't realize, this was a denim dress, she thought it was a different material, whatever it may be, to really be able to own and personalize that shopping experience. Now with COVID, of course, sometimes you don't want as much interaction, and we would be able to just have a very quick interaction. Maybe the customer wanted to pay online, grab their items and drive off, and we can empower you to do that. And in another case where the customer wants to remove an item or edit an item in the transaction, we can support that as well. So let's go ahead and check out. As you can see, I have a variety of different types of tenders that we can accept. So we can pretty much accept anything that you do in the store. That will just be payment integration with whichever device that you choose to run. And then once I've accepted that payment, I have a summary of that order, which I can email to the customer at the end of our interaction. So let's move on to a slightly more complex use case. Here we have a grocery order, which will have a lot more items in it. And then things like substitutions and discounts that might be a little bit more complex. So again, we have those containers. These items are being kept separate from each other. Let's start the checkout flow. And here I've actually enabled substitutions. Now, again, this is optional. If you choose to run this all online, you can do that as well. So when the customer arrives, they know what substitutions are there. But say if you have very quick processes, you can just have the customer accept or reject those at the curb. So if he chose to reject that item, you'll see that it's removed from the transaction and recalculated. The same would go if he wanted to remove any of the items in his basket here. So everything is very flexible, and this is really part of that pay anywhere capability where the customer can scan coupons, make any changes to the transaction at the curb. So once again, when David is ready to pay, we can go ahead and choose the tender. As Abhijit mentioned, now working with grocery customers, we're able to accept EBT and WIC payments, depending on which payment provider you're using. And that was really a push, especially during COVID-19, to be able to service any type of customer in the store and give everybody the option to shop in a safe manner. And again, at the end of the transaction, you can send off that email receipt. And at the very end, the OneView T-log would be efficiently mapped for downstream consumption so that you can send those orders and T-log information to business analytics systems, and other tools that you might have in the store. So with that, I'll hand it over back to Steve to start wrapping up the presentation.
Yeah, so really OneView Commerce provides retailers with that path forward. As those lines between the online channels and physical stores become more blurred, we empower them with the Headless Commerce platform for the store that gives them control, allows them to define and build unique commerce experiences, which will drive digital engagement, loyalty, and revenue. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Laurie.
Okay, thank you, Steve. I want to thank you all for joining us. This last screen presents OneView contact information as well as a link to learn more about our solution. If you'd like to have a deeper discussion about our headless platform, please reach out to any of us. As a reminder, you can type your questions into the Q&A box now. So now we'll address the questions that have been queued up for us. First question, how do you integrate new digital experiences in a legacy environment? Abhijit, if you could answer that, please.
Sure. Thanks, Laurie. Yeah, a very good question. Like we do get this question asked like every time. The changing legacy or touching legacy, the system is very painful, takes a lot of time, and as Steve mentioned, a lot of cost. So deploying the headless platform side by side with legacy, we do that at OneView, and we will be able to help you to get our transaction log and consume in your backend system and provide that transaction log abstraction. And absolutely without touching legacy, without touching your existing system, we'll be able to run side by side like in your store. And deliver those innovative use cases rapidly. We will be able to do that like with our platform.
Great, thanks. And can and how data from existing systems?
Can you repeat that question, Laurie?
Can and how do you pull data from existing systems?
Yeah. So with our API first platform, like that's a key thing. Like our approach is not rip and replace. Like your existing systems, be it a CRM or be it a promotions. Like it's very key to integrate with your systems, and with your API first platform, we'll be able to push your data to our system or consume data and transaction from our system to your backend system, or accessing your CRM and promotion very seamlessly. We'll be able to tell you how we can coexist with your systems, and you don't have to do rip and replace. So that's absolutely possible. Yeah.
Wonderful. What is the best approach to move to a headless commerce platform?
Yeah, I can take that. Like, yeah. So the best way, what we have seen, and we have been successful with customers, like what we have learned from Kroger and Australia Post experience as well, is that like you identify a high value use case, which is difficult to implement with your legacy system. And we can demonstrate that high value use case using our headless platform and do a small proof of concept or proof of technology, like based on your use case, we can say, here's this, in this many sprints, we can deliver that and deliver iteratively, like deliver fast. And as we say always, like in OneView is like test, learn, deploy. And if it works, like continue with that. If it doesn't work, like destroy it, so that you're not doing a lot of regret spent. So doing those smaller things, doing a proof of concept, starting small, is a key thing, and will be more successful with that approach.
Great, thank you. Those are all the questions that we have now or have time for. So if you did submit a question, we will get directly back to you with an answer for it. If you're interested in further discussion, please reach out to us. I want to thank you again for attending, and please keep an eye out for information on our next webinar. We look forward to seeing you soon. This concludes today's webinar.